Every thought you've ever had began as a ripple, soft, brief, and shimmering across the surface of a vast inner sea. Sometimes the waves rise, bright and restless. Other times they fall, smooth and still, but beneath them, always, there is depth. A quiet depth that never moves. That quiet place is where tonight's journey begins. Welcome to AstraFlow. Here, science drifts like starlight, and curiosity becomes calm. Tonight, let your thoughts slow down, your breathing find its rhythm, and your mind float through wonder. Before we begin, I'd love to know where you're listening from. Are you lying in bed under city lights, or watching the stars from somewhere quiet? Tell me in the comments. It's always peaceful to imagine the AstraFlow community scattered across the world, drifting together through the same sky. And if this calm journey brings you peace, you can gently support AstraFlow by liking this video or subscribing. It helps this little corner of the cosmos keep glowing. Now, let's begin tonight's voyage into the quiet story of peaceful psychology facts for deep rest and sleep. Our minds are not machines to be switched off. They are oceans full of movement, life, and rhythm. Even when we close our eyes, tides of thought drift in slow motion. Psychology is the gentle science that teaches us to listen to these tides. It doesn't silence them, it understands them. It studies how waves of emotion form, how calm returns, how memory breathes. And through understanding, we find rest, not by control, but by connection. So tonight, we'll drift through 40 small truths about the mind, each one a ripple of insight, each one leading you a little closer to peace. You'll learn how breathing slows the storm inside, how gratitude lights quiet paths in the brain, how imagination can cradle you when sleep feels far away. But you won't need to remember every detail, just let the words move like water, over you, through you, and past you. As your body grows heavier, your thoughts may wander, and that's perfectly right. Because rest is not the absence of thought, it's the space between them, and as you listen, you'll begin to feel that space widen, until the mind's ocean becomes still again. Breathe in, slowly. Let your breath drift out, even slower. You're safe. You're seen by the quiet sky. And tonight, you will understand how your own mind, so complex, so beautiful, is built to heal itself through peace. Now, let's drift deeper into what it truly means to rest. Rest is not simply the absence of motion. It is a conversation between body and mind, a quiet agreement that both can release their guard. Psychology teaches us that true rest is not only physical, but emotional. The moment your nervous system realizes the world is safe enough to let go. When you drift towards sleep, your brain begins to shift its rhythm. Waves of electrical activity slow from the rapid chatter of wakefulness into long rolling patterns called alpha and theta waves. These are the brain's lullabies, signals that it's time to soften, time to surrender. But deep rest goes beyond sleep. It's a return to balance, to trust, to inner stillness. You can sleep for 8 hours and still wake tired if your mind never stopped rehearsing fears. You can nap for 20 minutes and feel reborn if your thoughts were calm. The difference lies not in duration, but in surrender. Psychology calls this the relaxation response, a state where stress hormones fall and repair begins. It's the body's silent gratitude for your permission to pause. Think of rest as an invisible art, the gentle alignment of breath, memory, and emotion. When you rest deeply, your mind reorganizes itself. Fragments of thought knit back together. Old worries lose their sharpness. New connections quietly bloom, ready to guide you tomorrow. The science of rest is the science of being human, knowing when to do nothing and trusting that nothing is enough. So as you listen, Imagine your mind floating like a leaf on water. No effort, no struggle, just the soft rhythm of existence itself. This is what it means to rest deeply, not to stop living, but to let life flow through you without resistance. Your thoughts are clouds, your emotions winds, your moods the subtle climate that drifts through the day. Psychology is the study of this inner weather, not to control it, but to understand its patterns. Just as the Earth's skies shift from storm to stillness, the mind has its own seasons. Some days are bright with clarity, others dim with doubt. Yet beneath all of it, there is atmosphere, the constant space in which it all unfolds. The mind's weather is shaped by both nature and nurture. Biology stirs the winds, experience colours the light. Neurochemistry moves like pressure in the air, while memory gathers like mist at dawn. The beauty of psychology is that it doesn't demand endless sunshine. It accepts clouds as part of balance. Every emotion has purpose. Sadness helps release, fear protects, joy expands. Each one is a front passing through, never meant to stay forever. When you understand this, peace becomes easier. You no longer chase happiness like a clear sky. You simply notice what drifts through you, and you wait for it to pass. Studies show that naming emotions actually calms them, a process called affect labeling. When you gently say to yourself, "I feel anxious," your brain's emotional centers soften. Awareness itself is the sunlight that breaks the storm. So tonight, imagine your mind's sky, the winds of thought, the soft clouds of feeling. You don't have to change them, just observe. Breathe in and let the inner air settle. The forecast for your mind from this moment forward is calm inside your skull. A quiet orchestra never stops playing. Around 80 billion neurons hum together, each one a tiny musician sending electrical pulses in time. Some beats are fast, thought, focus, memory, while others drift slow like deep cello notes of rest. Every emotion, every dream, every calm breath is a pattern of rhythm. When you feel peaceful, these rhythms move in harmony. When you're stressed, they lose their timing and the music becomes noise. But even then, the brain never stops trying to return to balance. This is the gentle symphony of your mind, a concert of chemistry and current, endlessly adjusting to help you feel whole. Neuroscientists can see these harmonies on brain scans. During relaxation, alpha waves bloom smooth and even. When sleep begins, delta waves take over, slow and powerful, like ocean tides washing away the day. These rhythms don't just mark rest, they create it. They tell every cell in your body, it's safe now, you can begin to heal. Think of each breath you take as a conductor's baton, guiding this orchestra toward harmony. Every inhale gathers the instruments, every exhale releases them into stillness. The melody of your brain is older than any song, yet uniquely yours, tuned by every memory, shaped by every moment you've survived. You don't need to fix the music, you only need to listen. In that listening, peace returns. The neurons settle into their slow, luminous rhythm, and thought fades into quiet sound. Beneath all awareness, there is only this, a silent harmony, playing for you, night after night. Every breath you take is a message, a quiet language older than words. When you inhale, the body awakens slightly, heart rate rises, awareness sharpens. When you exhale, everything softens, muscles release, the pulse slows, the mind begins to trust that it can rest. This rhythm is the oldest conversation between your body and your brain. Psychology calls it a feedback loop. Your breathing changes your emotions, and your emotions change your breathing. It's simple, but profound. Slow, steady breaths send signals through the vagus nerve, telling your nervous system that all is well. It's the biological equivalent of a gentle hand on your shoulder whispering, "You're safe now." Studies show that even 2 minutes of slow breathing, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, can reduce cortisol, lower blood pressure, and calm anxiety. You don't need to count though. Nature already knows the rhythm. Think of waves on a shore. The tide rolls in, the tide rolls out. Your lungs do the same. Breathing is your built-in ocean, always flowing, always present. When your thoughts race, you can't chase them down, but you can breathe beneath them. Breath brings the mind back to the body, back to now. It reconnects the scattered pieces of attention, guiding them home. In mindfulness research, this is called anchoring, but to your heart it's simply comfort, the return to your own rhythm. So, as you listen now, try it. Inhale through the nose, slowly, like drawing in light. Exhale through the mouth, like releasing fog into air. Do it again, softer this time. Feel the body respond. The storm quiets. The orchestra of the mind follows the tempo of breath, and calm becomes its melody. The slow power of breathing isn't a trick, it's remembrance, that peace has always been within reach, moving gently with every rise and fall of your chest. When you fall asleep, the mind doesn't stop working. It begins to wander. In the hidden landscape of dreams, your brain rearranges thoughts, repairs emotions, and writes quiet stories to make sense of the day. Scientists call it REM sleep, but you can think of it as the mind's nightly theatre. The stage lights dim, the curtain closes, and deep inside, a storyteller awakens. Dreams are not random. They are how the brain speaks to itself. During REM, emotional centres like the amygdala remain active, while logic rests. That's why dreams feel vivid, yet untethered from reason. They're pure feeling, unfiltered. Psychology sees dreams as therapy without words. They help us process loss, replay confusion, and integrate memory. Even nightmares, uncomfortable as they seem, serve a purpose. They let the mind rehearse danger in safety, preparing us for waking life. The brain replays fragments of your day, a face, a sound, a forgotten colour, weaving them into meaning. It's a kind of emotional housekeeping. While you sleep, your brain prunes unnecessary connections and strengthens the important ones. It's tidying the attic while you drift among stars. You might wake with only a trace of what happened, a flash of light, a door, a name, but the healing remains. When we dream, consciousness loosens its grip on reality and slips into metaphor, and that is its magic. It teaches without teaching, heals without command. Tonight, as you fall deeper, you may not remember what you dream. That's fine. Let the dream do its quiet work. Trust that your mind knows how to care for itself. The stories it tells are not random. They are whispers from your own depths saying, "Rest now, I'll take it from here." In that surrender, the dream becomes your guardian, and sleep becomes a gentle return to balance. Peace begins where control ends. The mind, by nature, loves to hold on, to plans, to worries, to what-ifs. It believes that by gripping tightly, it can shape the future. But the truth, shown again and again in psychology, is that letting go often restores balance faster than effort ever could. When you release your need to manage every detail, your nervous system shifts from tension to trust. The stress response fades, replaced by the parasympathetic calm that signals safety. It's the biological sigh of relief, the body saying, "Finally, I can rest." Therapists sometimes call this cognitive surrender. The moment you allow life to be imperfect, and yet enough. It's not apathy, it's wisdom. The same way a clenched fist cannot hold water, a clenched mind cannot hold peace. When you let thoughts drift without chasing them, you create space for rest to enter. Mindfulness research calls it non-attachment, but it feels more like floating. Thoughts come, thoughts go, and you remain. Imagine standing by a river at dusk. You watch leaves glide past on the current. You don't reach for them. You simply notice their motion and return to your breath. Each leaf is a worry, a task, a memory. Each one leaves on its own time. That is what letting go feels like inside the mind. You don't have to empty the river. You only have to stop resisting its flow. As the body softens, the heart follows. Muscles uncoil, the jaw eases, the shoulders lower. This physical release mirrors the mental one. In that moment, your whole being whispers, "It's okay. You're not your thoughts. You are the space they move through. You're the quiet watcher of the current." So tonight, let everything float. The plans, the doubts, even the need to sleep. Trust that rest will find you when you stop reaching for it. The mind heals not through control, but through surrender. The art of letting go, softly, completely, like an exhale that never needs to end. Gratitude is more than manners. It's chemistry. When you feel thankful, your brain releases a gentle cascade of neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. Together they form a biological lullaby that soothes the nervous system and rewires thought toward calm. Gratitude shifts attention from what is missing to what already sustains you. It's the mind's quiet way of saying, "I am safe here." Psychology has studied this for decades. Experiments show that writing down just 3 things you're grateful for each night improves sleep quality, lowers blood pressure, and reduces anxiety. Why? Because the act of remembering something good trains the brain to anticipate safety instead of threat. It replaces the survival mind, alert and scanning, with a peaceful mind, present and grounded. In that shift, the body begins to relax, the heart rate slows, and sleep arrives more easily. Gratitude doesn't need to be grand. It can be the weight of blankets, the sound of rain, the warmth of breath. Each small thing you notice becomes an anchor in the present moment. It tells your brain, we're not in danger, we're at rest. And slowly, the chemistry of peace begins. The prefrontal cortex lights up, the same region that quiets fear, while the limbic system, where stress lives, softens. This is science working in silence. So tonight, before you drift deeper, think of one gentle thing, a memory, a face, a piece of music. Let it glow faintly in your mind. No need to hold it tight. Just let it shine like a lantern in the fog. Feel the warmth of appreciation, the quiet lift in your chest. This feeling isn't fleeting, it's medicine. Each grateful thought carves a path the brain remembers. Over time, that path becomes a resting place, a mental meadow where you can return whenever the world feels too loud. Gratitude is the bridge between thought and peace. It's where psychology meets grace, the place where science proves what the heart already knew. Noticing what's good changes everything. Every living thing follows a rhythm. Flowers open and close with light. The tide arrives and retreats. Birds rise at dawn without needing to think. The human mind, too, finds peace in pattern. Psychology calls this the stability effect, the comfort that comes from knowing what happens next. A routine, no matter how simple, gives your nervous system a sense of safety. When your brain can predict what's coming, it relaxes. It stops scanning for threat and allows energy to flow toward healing and rest. This is why bedtime rituals matter more than we realize. The act of dimming lights, brushing teeth, or making tea are not just tasks. They are cues. They whisper to the body, night is here. It's time to slow down. Repetition strengthens these signals until they become instinct. Over time, your mind begins to associate certain movements, sounds, and even scents with calm. That is how habits become havens. In psychology, this process is known as conditioning, but it feels more poetic than that. It's the gentle choreography of peace, one that the body learns through kindness, not force. The brain loves reliability. It treats predictability as safety, and safety is the foundation of sleep. Even the smallest rituals carry power. Turning off your phone, lighting a soft candle, listening to a familiar voice. They don't have to be perfect. What matters is the rhythm, the repetition that tells your inner clock that it's time to rest. With each night, this rhythm deepens. The neurons involved in stress quiet down, replaced by pathways of calm anticipation. So tonight, whatever your ritual is, a sip of water, a sigh, a small prayer, know that it is part of the brain's language of peace. Each repetition is a promise to yourself that rest is coming, that life still moves in gentle circles, and when the familiar motions end, the body and mind exhale together, as if saying in unison, yes, it's time to drift. There's a reason a soft, familiar voice can calm you faster than silence. Psychology calls it auditory safety, the way the brain recognizes tone and rhythm as signs of comfort. From birth, humans are wired to respond to voice. The gentle rise and fall of sound mimics a mother's heartbeat, the steady cadence of life before memory. That early imprint never fades. It's why bedtime stories soothe us, even as adults. The mind associates the human voice with belonging, and belonging with safety. When you hear a tone that feels warm and predictable, the vagus nerve activates, lowering heart rate and releasing oxytocin, the same hormone that deepens trust. The result is physical calm. In studies of sleep therapy, people fall asleep faster when listening to soft, consistent narration, even if they don't focus on the words. It's not about meaning, it's about rhythm. The voice becomes a bridge between wakefulness and dream, guiding you without pressure. That's why we replay voices we love. A friend's laugh, a favourite narrator, a song sung softly. They remind the brain of connection, and connection, in the language of psychology, is the opposite of fear. It tells the ancient parts of your mind you are not alone. The amygdala, the alarm centre, quiets. The prefrontal cortex takes over, restoring clarity. The body's chemistry shifts toward rest. When you listen to this narration, your mind may wander. That's not distraction. That's peace taking hold. Familiar sound gives permission to drift, to stop analysing. It holds you like a steady current, carrying you into still water. Voices are more than sound. They're emotional signatures. They remind us of home, even when home is far away. The voice you trust becomes a lighthouse in the fog, a rhythm that keeps you steady as consciousness fades. And when the story ends, the comfort remains. The voice is gone, but its resonance lingers in the nervous system, a soft echo saying, "Rest now, everything is safe." When darkness arrives, the mind begins its quiet housekeeping. All day, you've gathered experiences, sights, words, emotions, each stored in fragile webs of neurons. As night falls, psychology and neuroscience tell us, the brain begins to sort them. Memories replay, organize, and gently file themselves away. The hippocampus, that small seahorse-shaped region in your brain, becomes the night librarian, deciding what to keep and what to release. During deep sleep, short-term memories transfer into long-term storage. The brain strengthens useful connections, trims the rest, and clears space for tomorrow's learning. It's a process known as memory consolidation, but in poetic terms, it's your mind breathing out the day. This unseen work restores order to the chaos of consciousness. Without it, we'd wake each morning overwhelmed, unable to separate what matters from what fades. Even emotional memories find their rhythm here. When we dream, the amygdala, the brain's emotional centre, replays certain moments, but with the stress muted. It's the psyche's way of healing. By re-experiencing feelings in a safe sleeping state, we slowly detach pain from its sharp edge. What once felt heavy becomes lighter, a polished stone instead of a burden. You might notice that after a good night's sleep, yesterday's worries feel distant. That's not just rest, it's integration. The mind has rewritten them into context, transforming confusion into understanding. Sleep is, in many ways, the most profound therapy we have. It requires no effort, no analysis, only surrender. So as you rest tonight, imagine your brain as a quiet library at dusk. The lights dim, the shelves hum softly, and invisible hands return every thought to its proper place. Each memory whispers before settling, "Thank you for noticing me." And when the last one drifts into stillness, only silence remains, vast, clean, ready for morning light. Human emotion is a language older than speech. When you see someone smile, your own brain quietly echoes it. When you watch a tear fall, your body understands the weight of it without needing words. Psychology calls this the mirror neuron system, the way our minds reflect the feelings of others. It's empathy, written in biology. These neural mirrors help us connect, but they also help us calm. When you witness kindness, your nervous system relaxes as if it were your own act. When you hear a voice that's gentle, your breathing unconsciously slows to match its pace. This mirroring is why being near calm people makes us calm too. It's the science behind shared peace. Your brain, constantly attuned to emotional cues, learns safety by imitation. The soft tone of a loved one, the quiet rhythm of a story, the even tempo of breathing, all of it tells your body that it's safe to rest. Emotional contagion, psychologists call it. But that phrase feels too clinical for something so tender. It's more like resonance, like two strings vibrating in harmony across the same space. Empathy evolved for survival, to help us understand others' needs, but its side effect is beauty. When we connect, we regulate. When we feel understood, our cortisol drops, our heartbeat steadies, and the walls of the self grow porous. The body becomes a tuning fork for peace. Tonight, as you listen, you are part of that resonance. The calm you feel isn't just within you, it's shared with everyone else listening, somewhere under the same wide sky. You might never meet them, yet your minds drift together in rhythm, breathing the same invisible tide of empathy. That's the quiet miracle of being human. Your heart learns safety through connection, and connection, once felt, becomes the mirror where peace reflects back endlessly. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the space where sound can rest. In psychology, silence has its own music. It lowers sensory input, allowing the nervous system to retreat from constant alertness. Studies show that even 2 minutes of complete quiet can slow the heart rate and increase the brain's alpha waves, the very frequencies linked to calm and creativity. Silence isn't empty, it's full of repair. It's where thoughts loosen, where emotions settle, where the mind begins to breathe again. Modern life rarely grants this stillness. The brain, overstimulated by noise and screens, forgets what peace feels like. Yet, in silence, something ancient stirs. The default mode network, the region that activates when you're not focused on anything specific. It's the mind's way of reorganizing itself, integrating memory, emotion, and imagination. This is why quiet moments feel profound. The brain is quietly weaving meaning in the background. Silence also restores a sense of presence. Without words or sound, awareness widens. You begin to notice subtle things. The pulse in your wrist, the faint hum of air, the warmth beneath your skin. These are the body's small signals of existence, often drowned out by noise. As you become aware of them, the mind grounds itself in the present. Time slows. The boundaries between self and world soften. Therapists sometimes use silence deliberately, not as emptiness, but as invitation. In those moments, people often discover that their own thoughts, once heard without interruption, are kinder than they expected. Silence gives permission to listen, not to the world, but to yourself. So tonight, when the story fades into quiet, don't rush to fill it. Let the hush linger. Feel how it isn't loneliness but peace, not distance but depth. Silence is the brain's night garden, a space where stillness blooms and healing begins without sound. In that quiet, you are whole, and the world finally exhales with you. Kindness, even in its smallest form, changes the chemistry of the mind. When you do something gentle for another person, hold a door, speak softly, share a smile, your brain releases oxytocin, the same hormone that bonds parent and child. It spreads through your nervous system like warmth through water, lowering blood pressure, slowing heart rate, easing tension. Psychology calls this the helper's high, a natural reward system that reinforces compassion. But in simpler terms, kindness is peace, made visible. You don't need grand gestures to feel it. Small, genuine moments ripple further than you imagine. When someone receives kindness, their brain mirrors your calm, their own oxytocin rises, and the feeling returns to you through resonance. It's the quiet physics of emotion. Energy passed gently between hearts until both are lighter. Researchers have found that even watching an act of kindness can trigger the same neural reward patterns as performing one. The mind doesn't distinguish between giving and witnessing. It only recognizes goodness. Every act of care you offer becomes a message to yourself. I am safe enough to give. In trauma therapy, this is a crucial truth. When we feel secure, we instinctively share. When we're threatened, we withdraw. So the impulse to be kind isn't weakness. It's a sign of strength, a sign that your system remembers safety. Think of it as light in motion. Each kind word, each moment of patience sends that light outward, soft and circular. It returns in forms you might never see. A smile that travels, a sigh that softens, another person's calmer night. The world, in ways science can now measure, becomes slightly more peaceful because of you. As you lie here, let your mind drift through memories of kindness, the ones you gave, the ones you received. Feel them like warm echoes in the chest. This is psychology at its most human, the science of hearts regulating each other, of peace shared quietly across the invisible threads that connect us all. When the world feels heavy, the mind builds shelters of its own. Imagination is one of them, a quiet refuge where thoughts can rest and reality softens its edges. Psychology calls it mental imagery, but it's more than picture making. It's the ability to create calm through vision. When you imagine a peaceful place, your brain responds as though you're truly there. The same regions that process sight, sound, and emotion light up, releasing the same chemistry of safety. The line between what's seen and what's felt becomes beautifully thin. This is why guided imagery and visualization are powerful tools for rest. When you picture yourself floating in water, walking under stars, or breathing on a mountain ridge, your nervous system follows the story. Heart rate slows, muscles release, the mind begins to trust the calm it's creating. Psychologists describe it as top-down regulation, the conscious mind soothing the body through imagination. But in truth, it feels like coming home. You can use this any night. Close your eyes and build a place that welcomes you. It doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe it's a forest with golden air or a small room with soft light. Maybe it's simply darkness, deep and kind. The details don't matter. The feeling does. Let each breath add colour, shape, texture. With every inhale, you arrive a little more. With every exhale, you let go of the day. Imagination is not escape. It's restoration, the mind remembering that peace is possible. In trauma research, this is known as safe place imagery, a technique that helps the body relearn trust. It reminds the brain that safety can exist even within memory, even within thought. Tonight, your imagination can be that place, a soft harbour, a room of light, an endless horizon. As the scene unfolds in your mind, notice how your body responds. Shoulders drop, breathing deepens, the borders between thought and dream blur. This is your inner sanctuary, crafted not by the world but by you, a place you can always return to, whenever the noise outside becomes too loud. Worry begins as protection. The mind, ever watchful, scans for what could go wrong, an ancient reflex meant to keep us alive. But in the modern world, that reflex often has nowhere to rest. It circles endlessly, searching for danger in places where there is none. Psychology calls this cognitive looping, a cycle where the brain repeats imagined fears, hoping one more thought might bring safety. But worry does not prevent pain, it only postpones peace. Inside the brain, worry activates the amygdala, the alarm system. Heart rate rises, breath shortens, muscles tense. The mind mistakes imagination for emergency. Yet, even as this happens, another system stands ready. The prefrontal cortex, the wise part of you that knows when to let go. When you notice your worry instead of fighting it, that awareness begins to quiet the alarm. It's called metacognition, thinking about thinking, and it turns the storm into something you can observe rather than drown in. Imagine your thoughts as small stones in your hand. You don't have to throw them away, you simply open your palm and let them rest there, feeling their weight but no longer gripping them. This gentle awareness changes everything. Studies show that naming a worry, simply saying, "I'm anxious right now," can reduce activity in the amygdala. The emotion doesn't vanish, but it softens. The body begins to believe it's safe again. Worry loses power in the light of observation. The more gently you watch it, the smaller it becomes. It's like fog that looks solid until you step closer and see it's only air. Tonight, if thoughts of tomorrow try to return, meet them kindly. Tell them, "Thank you for trying to protect me," and let them drift. They are only signals, not truths. The future will unfold whether you chase it or not. The mind's task is to imagine. The heart's task is to trust. When those two meet, worry dissolves into wisdom. So breathe, and let the weight of worry rest on the tide. It will float away, in its own time, just as all storms eventually do. Control feels like safety, the mind's way of pretending it can command the future. But in truth, control is often just fear wearing discipline's mask. Psychology teaches that our need for control comes from uncertainty. The unknown makes the brain uneasy, so it tries to predict every outcome, plan every moment, prevent every loss. Yet the more we chase control, the more restless we become. It's an endless loop. Effort without peace. The human nervous system is wired to seek predictability. When something happens outside expectation, stress hormones rise. But the paradox is that true calm doesn't come from perfect control. It comes from flexibility. Studies on resilience show that people who adapt rather than resist recover faster from hardship. Their strength lies in flow. Like water, they shape themselves around change instead of fighting its current. You can feel this even now. Think of a moment when things didn't go your way. Maybe a delay, a loss, a shift you couldn't stop. You survived it somehow. The world didn't collapse. It only changed shape. That memory holds a quiet truth. Peace is not the absence of chaos, but the ability to move gently within it. Control tries to harden. Peace invites softness. Psychologists sometimes call this radical acceptance, not giving up, but allowing reality to exist as it is. The tension in your body lessens the moment you stop arguing with what's already happened. Your shoulders drop, your jaw releases, the breath deepens. It's the body's way of saying, "Thank you for letting me rest." Imagine now that life is a vast ocean and you are a swimmer. You can't calm the waves by command, but you can float. You can trust the buoyancy that's always been there. the gentle laws that hold you up even when you stop trying. Control is an illusion of power. Surrender is the discovery of balance. When you stop gripping the surface, the water carries you. When you stop demanding certainty, peace arrives quietly, as it always meant to. Every word you speak to yourself changes the climate of your mind. Psychology calls it self-talk, but it's more than thought. It's atmosphere. Each phrase you repeat becomes air you breathe. A harsh inner voice makes storms, a gentle one clears the sky. The human brain, always listening, believes what it hears most often. When you say, "I'm failing," stress hormones rise. When you whisper, "I'm learning," the body relaxes. Words are chemistry disguised as language. Cognitive behavioral therapy, one of psychology's most effective tools, rests on this truth. How we interpret experience shapes how we feel it. By changing our internal dialogue, we reshape emotion itself. It's not pretending everything is fine. It's choosing clarity over cruelty. When the voice inside turns kind, the nervous system follows, heart rate slows, muscles release, breathing deepens, compassion becomes physiology. Imagine your inner voice as the weather pattern above an inner landscape. When it's judgmental, the sky tightens. When it's forgiving, light breaks through. You are both the speaker and the sky. Each word is wind. You can decide how gently it moves. The next time your mind whispers criticism, "You should have done better," answer softly, "You did what you could." That single substitution can shift the emotional season. Studies show that people who practice self-compassion experience lower anxiety and faster emotional recovery. The reason is simple. The brain doesn't distinguish between comfort from another and comfort from yourself. It only registers safety. So when you talk kindly to your mind, it exhales. Tonight, let your inner dialogue drift into softness. Replace "I must" with "I may." Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning how." Feel how each phrase loosens something inside. This is the psychology of inner weather, not forcing sunshine, but allowing calm skies to form naturally. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you love. The mind listens, and under kind words, peace always returns like gentle rain after a storm. The human brain is a pattern seeker. It finds comfort in rhythm, repetition, and symmetry, the predictable shapes of experience. Psychology calls this pattern recognition, an ancient survival tool that once kept our ancestors safe. By recognizing the familiar, the mind could tell when danger was gone. Today, that same instinct brings us calm in quieter ways. The steady tick of a clock, the repeating melody of waves, the gentle sway of breathing, all remind the nervous system that life is unfolding as expected. Inside the brain, neurons fire in synchrony when they detect order. This synchrony releases dopamine, a chemical of reward and pleasure. That's why you feel soothed by a lullaby, or why your body relaxes when you hear footsteps in rhythm, rain against glass, or a calm voice reading in even tempo. The brain thrives on cadence. Predictability tells it, "You're safe, you can rest." In sleep studies, people fall asleep faster when exposed to repetitive patterns, white noise, gentle hums, the sound of steady rain. It's not the noise itself that calms, but the rhythm. Chaos demands attention. Rhythm frees it. When your surroundings pulse with reliability, your inner storm quiets. The mind doesn't need to stay alert. It can finally let go. This love for pattern also explains why rituals, habits, and familiar routines feel sacred. Each repetition is a psychological lullaby, the mind's way of aligning with the world's flow. Even dreams follow patterns, recurring landscapes, familiar voices, endless corridors of meaning. It's the brain rehearsing order, building comfort within the infinite unknown. You can use this to your advantage. Tonight, focus on the smallest repeating thing, the rhythm of your breath, the rise and fall of your chest, the faint pulse in your fingertips. Feel how the repetition becomes melody, how the melody becomes stillness. The brain, soothed by its own symmetry, will follow that rhythm into quiet. In patterns, it finds peace. In repetition, it remembers how to rest. There are moments when thought and action merge, when time softens and awareness becomes effortless. Psychology calls this flow, the state where you're so gently absorbed in what you're doing that self-consciousness disappears. It's the mind's most natural form of meditation. Whether it's painting, walking, or simply breathing, flow feels like harmony, a wordless connection between focus and freedom. In brain scans, flow appears as a perfect balance. The prefrontal cortex, where self-criticism lives, grows quiet, while dopamine and endorphins rise. It's the chemistry of deep ease. You stop analysing, stop comparing, and begin simply being. Hours can pass unnoticed. The sense of I must fades into I am. For many, this is the purest peace available while awake. Athletes, artists, and writers describe it as transcendence, but flow is not exclusive to mastery. It can happen in the simplest acts: washing dishes, arranging words, tracing the edges of a memory. It happens whenever attention aligns with presence, whenever the mind forgets itself. And in that forgetting, healing begins. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who first described the phenomenon, called it the secret to happiness. Not excitement or achievement, but absorption. When you're in flow, the brain's chatter fades, worry dissolves, the world narrows into a single, graceful movement. The nervous system recognizes this as safety, the same kind of stillness animals enter when resting under sunlight. You can invite flow into your nights too. As you lie here, focus on the rhythm of your breath, or the imagery this story creates. Let yourself drift into attention without effort. If your thoughts wander, let them. Flow doesn't resist, it adapts. The more gently you focus, the more your body aligns with calm. Eventually, everything unnecessary falls away. Thought, tension, time, until only awareness remains, floating, timeless, clear. This is the psychology of flow, not control, not escape, but surrender into rhythm. The mind stops pushing against the world and begins to move with it. You and the moment become one, and peace ceases to be something you chase. It becomes the quiet current carrying you home. The human mind was shaped beneath open skies. Long before walls and screens, our senses evolved to read the rhythm of wind, light, and leaves. Psychology now calls this biophilia, the innate affinity we have for the natural world. Simply gazing at trees, water, or even images of landscapes lowers heart rate and quiets the amygdala. It's as though the body remembers where it belongs. Studies show that just 2 minutes of observing natural motion, clouds drifting, branches swaying, can trigger measurable calm. Blood pressure drops, breathing slows, and the brain's default mode network resets. It's not magic. It's recognition. Your nervous system sees patterns it understands. Gentle randomness, soft repetition, the living geometry of the earth. These forms are fractal, endlessly detailed yet predictably soothing. Your eyes and neurons, ancient partners, find rhythm in them. In hospitals, patients recover faster when they can see trees through a window. In cities, parks reduce anxiety and depression. Even recorded sounds, rain, birds, ocean waves, send signals of safety to the mind. The primitive brain hears them and concludes, if life thrives here, I'm safe too. That message runs deeper than thought. It's instinct remembering peace. You can invite that nature into your sleep. Imagine lying on soft grass, the scent of earth beneath you, the air moving lightly across your skin. Somewhere far off, water murmurs. The horizon glows faintly with fading light. Let the imagery breathe with you. As your lungs rise and fall, picture the world doing the same. Oceans inhaling, trees exhaling. In that shared rhythm, the boundary between body and earth dissolves. Psychology meets poetry here. Connection restores calm. The world outside mirrors the world within. Both long to be still, both know how. So tonight, even indoors, even in silence, know this. You're not separate from nature. You're its continuation, a pattern of the same calm design. When you rest, the earth rests through you. Long before words the body spoke, it still does, through breath, posture, and the slow choreography of muscles releasing. Psychology calls this embodied cognition, the understanding that mind and body are not separate storytellers but two voices of the same song. When your shoulders lower, the brain interprets it as relief. When your jaw unclenches, the mind follows suit. Each movement sends meaning inward. You're safe now. The vagus nerve, that quiet messenger linking brain to heart, lungs, and gut, carries these messages constantly. When the body softens, the vagus nerve hums gently, guiding the nervous system away from alertness and toward calm. It's the body's language of peace, one that doesn't require thought. In yoga, slow stretches activate this same communication. In therapy, grounding techniques use it intentionally, feeling feet against floor, air against skin, heartbeat against stillness. The goal isn't control but awareness, reminding the brain that it lives inside something trustworthy. Every emotion has a posture. Anxiety leans forward. Sadness folds inward. Calm opens the chest. You can reverse engineer peace by adopting its shape. Sit or lie comfortably now and notice your body's small signals. Where is it holding on? Where can it let go? Even the smallest shift, a deeper exhale, a loosening of hands, begins a conversation with the mind. This feedback loop is ancient and reliable. Soldiers use it to recover from stress. Therapists teach it to anchor clients in presence, and meditators have known it for centuries. Stillness in the body creates stillness in the soul. You don't need complex rituals to speak this language, only honesty. Let your body say what your mind can't. I'm here. I'm safe. I can rest. As you listen now, let your body answer back in movements so subtle it might be invisible. A sigh, a soft shift of weight, the gentle drop of your shoulders. The body understands before the brain does, and when it begins to relax, the mind follows, wordlessly translating that posture into peace. Focus doesn't have to be sharp. It can be soft, like candlelight spreading in a dark room. Psychology calls this open monitoring, a form of mindfulness that holds attention without gripping it. Instead of chasing thoughts or forcing silence, you simply notice what arises and allow it to pass. This is gentle focus, awareness that breathes. The human mind is naturally restless. It leaps from sound to thought to memory, a bird always in flight. But when you learn to observe without judgment, flight becomes glide. The prefrontal cortex, which manages attention, begins to harmonize with slower brainwaves. Activity in the amygdala, the stress center, fades. The result is balance, alert but calm, aware but untroubled. Think of your focus like sunlight through leaves, always moving, never rigid. You don't hold light still, you bask in it. In meditation, this is sometimes called soft eyes, seeing the whole scene, not one point. You can practice this now. Let your awareness rest on your breath, but also on the quiet around it. Notice how the room sounds when you stop labeling it. The air hums gently. The world slows its pulse to match yours. Gentle focus is also an act of kindness. It refuses perfection. It doesn't demand that you erase thought. It only asks that you stop arguing with it. The next time your mind wanders, smile inwardly. That's just awareness stretching its legs. You don't fail at focus. You return to it, again and again, like waves returning to shore. Psychologists studying mindfulness call this the return moment, the instant you notice distraction and come back. That return is the essence of peace. It's where self-forgiveness lives. Tonight, let your focus drift like a feather on warm air. When it lands on the breath, stay there a while. When it floats away, follow softly. There is no wrong place to be. In gentle focus, everything, sound, silence, thought, becomes part of the same quiet flow. To be vulnerable is to be human in full colour. Psychology defines vulnerability as openness, the willingness to experience uncertainty, emotion, and risk without defence. Yet culture often confuses it with weakness. In truth, it's the opposite. It takes enormous strength to stay open when the instinct is to hide. Vulnerability is the mind's declaration. I'm safe enough to be seen. When you share truth or emotion, the brain releases oxytocin, a hormone that deepens trust and connection. This is why honest conversations calm the body. When the nervous system senses safety in another's gaze or tone, the amygdala, the brain's alarm bell, quiets. In therapy, this moment of openness is where healing begins. It's not the analysis that repairs us, but the courage to be transparent in front of kindness. The same applies within yourself. Vulnerability isn't only about others, it's about your own inner honesty. When you admit fear, sadness, or confusion, you stop wasting energy pretending to be invincible. That honesty softens the internal storm. The body relaxes, breath deepens, and a new kind of quiet appears, the quiet of self-acceptance. Psychologist Brené Brown calls vulnerability the birthplace of love, belonging, and joy. It's the soil where intimacy grows, even between parts of your own mind. To hide pain is to freeze it in place. To name it is to let it move again. Vulnerability turns emotion back into flow. Tonight, if a feeling rises, worry, regret, tenderness, let it exist without judgment. Imagine holding it gently in your hands like a fragile light. You don't need to fix it or push it away. Just allow it to glow softly until it fades on its own. That is strength. To remain open while the heart trembles. To trust that what you feel cannot destroy you. In the language of psychology, this is self-compassion. In the language of the soul, it's simply truth. And truth, when held with kindness, always leads back to peace. A smile is a bridge between emotion and physiology. Even when it begins as a small, deliberate gesture, the brain interprets it as real happiness. Psychology calls this the facial feedback effect, the discovery that our expressions don't just reflect how we feel, they help shape it. When you lift the corners of your mouth, even slightly, tiny muscles signal the brain to release dopamine, endorphins, and serotonin. The result is subtle but powerful, a wave of ease spreading through the nervous system, convincing the body that all is well. This feedback loop works both ways. A frown can amplify stress. A smile can dissolve it. That's why calm people often appear to radiate warmth. Their relaxed expressions are contagious. Through mirror neurons, others begin to mimic that serenity without realizing it. One person's smile becomes a small act of collective regulation, a quiet synchronization of peace. In therapy and mindfulness practice, smiling is sometimes used as a grounding tool. Not to hide pain, but to remind the mind that softness is still possible. The simple act of smiling, especially during tension, confuses the stress response in a good way. The body hesitates, wondering which signal to obey, the facial message of calm or the mental message of worry. Often the face wins, the tension breaks. Even when you're alone, a smile can be a form of dialogue, a kind word spoken inwardly. It tells your mind, I'm here with you, and we can be gentle about this. Studies have found that people who smile intentionally during difficulty recover faster afterward. Their brains associate the gesture with resilience, not denial. Try it now, softly. Let the muscles move without effort. Feel the tiny lift in the cheeks, the slight warmth behind your eyes. That warmth is your brain's chemistry shifting. the smallest sunrise within you. The world hasn't changed, but your perception has widened. A smile doesn't erase pain, it invites balance. It is the body's simplest meditation, proof that peace can begin with a single muscle, a single moment, a single breath. Safety is the foundation upon which all calm is built. Without it, the mind cannot rest no matter how still the body lies. Psychology calls this the neuroception of safety, the unconscious process by which your nervous system constantly asks, "Am I safe right now?" It listens not to logic but to cues, tone of voice, lighting, temperature, rhythm, presence. When those cues signal harmony, the body's guard lowers, heart rate steadies, muscles release, thought softens. The vagus nerve plays the lead role in this invisible orchestra. It carries signals between brain and body, translating sensation into emotion. A warm voice, a slow breath, or soft light all activate the vagus in ways that tell the system, you can rest. This is why lullabies calm infants and slow breathing soothes adults. Safety, in its deepest form, isn't an idea, it's a feeling that flows through the body before the mind ever names it. Psychologist Stephen Porges describes this as the polyvagal theory, the understanding that our physiology organizes itself around safety or threat. When safe, we connect, digest, sleep, and heal. When threatened, we withdraw and brace. The difference often lies not in reality, but in perception. A quiet room can feel safe to one person and lonely to another. The body listens to meaning, not logic. You can teach your nervous system safety by offering it gentle evidence. Lower the lights, slow the breath, wrap yourself in warmth. Let sound be soft, predictable, and near. Each of these signals becomes a message. You're home, you can release. Over time, the body learns this truth, and peace no longer feels foreign. It becomes the default. Even memories of safety can restore calm. Thinking of someone kind, a scent you trust, or a familiar place reactivates those neural circuits. It's the mind's way of carrying sanctuary within itself. Tonight, let every small comfort, the blanket's weight, the hush of the room, the steady beat of your heart, remind you that the world for now is gentle, and that gentleness is enough. Home isn't just a place, it's a signal. The mind knows it through pattern and presence, the way familiar sights, sounds, and scents whisper, you belong here. Psychology describes this as environmental conditioning. Over time, our brains associate certain surroundings with safety. The smell of tea, the creak of a door, the dim light of a certain hour all become quiet passwords for calm. When we encounter them, the amygdala eases, cortisol falls, and the parasympathetic system takes the lead. Home is where prediction feels certain. You know the space, its sounds, its silence. There are no surprises. The mind relaxes because it no longer needs to scan for threat. That's why returning to a familiar room or routine can instantly bring relief. The nervous system recognizes the pattern of peace. Even in unfamiliar places, a few personal objects can recreate this sense of belonging. They anchor you to continuity, telling your body, I am still me. I'm still safe. But home is also emotional. In attachment theory, a secure bond with another person becomes an internal base. When you feel loved and understood, your brain mirrors the same safety response as being physically home. Over time, that sense of safety moves inward. You begin to carry home within you. This is what psychologists call earned security, when self-trust grows strong enough to create its own shelter. You can feel it even now. The gentle rhythm of your breath, the weight of the blanket, the warmth beneath your ribs. All these sensations are home's quiet signals. You don't need walls or keys. You just need presence. The mind recognizes safety through repetition, and tonight that repetition is found in breath. Inhale, I arrive. Exhale, I belong. Home is not somewhere you travel to. It's something that unfolds when the body and mind agree that the moment is enough. When you reach that agreement, when the inner weather clears, when thought and breath align, the mind whispers its softest truth. You're home now. Nostalgia is the mind's way of visiting home without moving. It's more than memory. It's emotion braided with time. Psychology defines it as a bittersweet recall, a warm ache that soothes even as it stirs. When you remember something kind from the past, the brain releases dopamine and oxytocin, the same chemicals that create comfort and connection in the present. That's why an old song, a familiar scent, or a photograph can calm you faster than logic ever could. The body believes you are safe again. Neuroscience shows that nostalgia activates the prefrontal cortex, where meaning is formed, and the hippocampus, where memory lives. The two regions begin to dance. One replays, the other interprets. In that union, a gentle illusion forms. You are both then and now, both memory and moment. The nervous system, sensing familiarity, eases. The past becomes a lullaby. People often think nostalgia traps us in what's gone, but in psychology it serves the opposite purpose. It stabilizes identity. In moments of uncertainty, the mind looks backward to remind itself who it has always been. It's the psyche's quiet reassurance. You've made it through before, you can again. Even sad memories can bring peace if they remind you of connection, growth, or survival. The heart feels the loss, yes, but it also feels the continuity. You can use nostalgia as medicine. When stress feels heavy, recall a gentle detail from another time. Sunlight on a wall, laughter over a meal, the sound of rain against a childhood window. Let it play softly in your mind, not to cling but to remember. Peace has visited you before. It can return. As you lie here now, those memories are more than thought. They are neural echoes, pathways of safety reactivated. They remind your brain that comfort is not imaginary. It's encoded, waiting. Nostalgia is rest disguised as time travel, a bridge between who you were and who you still are. Let it carry you, slowly, towards sleep. Compassion is empathy in motion, the moment when understanding turns into care. Psychology defines it as the recognition of another's pain, coupled with a desire to ease it. Yet beyond ethics or emotion, compassion is also biology. When you feel genuine concern for someone, your brain releases oxytocin and activates regions linked to reward and connection. At the same time, stress response is quiet. Helping others, or even thinking kindly of them, triggers the same calm that comfort brings to the one being helped. Neuroscientists have found that compassion meditation, the act of sending goodwill outward, changes the structure of the brain itself. Areas responsible for empathy and emotion regulation grow stronger. The anterior cingulate cortex, which helps you manage emotional distress, becomes more active, allowing you to stay calm while remaining open. Compassion doesn't drain you, it stabilizes you. It tells your body, I can face the world and stay kind. This gentle strength is contagious. When you act with compassion, mirror neurons in those who witness you reflect that calm. Kindness spreads quietly through social networks, reshaping collective mood. Psychology calls this prosocial contagion, but the name can't capture its poetry. It's simply resonance. One steady heart helping another find its rhythm again. Even self-compassion follows this pattern. When you treat yourself with gentleness rather than criticism, your brain releases the same hormones that comfort you when someone else shows care. It's the nervous system's reminder that love, in any direction, heals. You can feel compassion's chemistry right now. Think of someone, human, animal, or even a memory, and wish them peace. No words needed, only the feeling. May you rest, may you be safe. As you imagine it, notice the subtle warmth in your chest. That warmth is the body's quiet acknowledgement of unity, the recognition that peace for one being contributes to peace for all. Compassion is not a duty, it's a return. It brings the mind back to balance, the heart back to flow. In giving calm, you create it, a simple, sacred cycle that turns empathy into rest. There are moments when awareness turns inward, when the mind quietly observes its own movements. Psychology calls this metacognition, the ability to think about thinking. But beyond science, it feels like standing at the edge of a vast inner lake, watching ripples form and fade without needing to touch them. This awareness doesn't change what happens, it changes how it feels. It transforms chaos into flow, noise into rhythm. When you watch your thoughts instead of believing them, the brain's activity shifts. The default mode network, usually busy weaving stories about self, begins to quiet. In its place, regions linked to focus and compassion grow more active. It's as if the mind, realizing it can observe itself, exhales. You're no longer trapped inside the storm. You are the sky watching clouds drift. Mindfulness meditation rests on this idea. Awareness itself is healing. You don't have to stop thinking. You only need to notice that thinking is happening. The act of observation introduces distance, a gentle space where emotion can breathe. In that space, you rediscover choice. You can let go. You can rest. It's remarkable how the brain responds to this shift. Stress hormones decline. Heart rate slows. Neural pathways of anxiety lose dominance. And perhaps most importantly, a sense of identity softens. You realize that you are not every thought, not every feeling, not every story. You're the awareness that holds them all, vast, patient, luminous. Try it now. Notice one thought passing through, maybe about today or tomorrow. Instead of following it, imagine it as a small paper boat on a river. Watch it float downstream until it disappears around a bend. Another may come, let it go too. Each one drifts away without resistance. Soon the river remains, calm, continuous, alive. When the mind watches itself, peace arises naturally, not because the world has changed, but because you've stepped back far enough to see that stillness was always there. You were the lake all along. You only needed to stop chasing the ripples to remember the depth beneath. Consciousness is the quiet miracle behind every moment, the invisible ocean in which thought, feeling and perception drift. Psychology can describe its patterns, neuroscience can trace its rhythms, but its essence remains beyond measure. It is the awareness that notices without needing to explain, the still presence that exists even when the mind is silent. Imagine consciousness as water and your thoughts as waves. Each wave rises briefly, a memory, a sensation, a worry, then folds back into the whole. The water never disappears, it only changes shape. Beneath the movement, depth endures. When you rest deeply, you begin to sense that depth, the spacious awareness that remains even when the surface stirs. Meditation, mindfulness, and even dreams all touch this same truth, that behind every experience, there is the quiet watcher. In neuroscience, this awareness corresponds to a balanced dialogue between brain networks, one that allows you to observe without reacting. Yet beyond the data, consciousness feels personal and infinite all at once. It is the I am that exists before every other sentence, the space in which life happens. When you're lost in worry, it narrows. When you let go, it widens like sunrise over sea. Try noticing it now, not as a concept, but as a feeling. Awareness is not something you do. It's something you notice already being done. You are the perceiver, not the noise. Even now, beneath thoughts about these words, awareness watches. It's steady, unhurried, and vast. The more you recognize it, the calmer you become. Philosophers describe consciousness as the universe knowing itself. In a smaller, softer sense, it is simply you, the calm behind the current, the silence inside the song. Tonight, as you drift, imagine yourself floating on that ocean of thought. Each ripple fades, each worry dissolves, and only awareness remains. Wide, weightless, awake. Consciousness doesn't need to sleep, it only needs stillness. When the body rests, awareness stays gently luminous, watching over you like moonlight on water. And in that light, you remember, you were never just the wave, you were always the sea. Who are you really? Psychology offers many mirrors, personality traits, memories, patterns of thought, but the deeper you look, the more fluid the image becomes. Identity is not a single, fixed sculpture. It's a river. Every experience adds a drop. Every memory shifts its flow. The self you wake as each morning is not the same self who falls asleep each night. And yet, beneath these constant changes, something enduring hums. Awareness, the witness to it all. Neuroscience shows that our sense of self arises from many regions working together. Memory in the hippocampus, emotion in the amygdala, reflection in the prefrontal cortex. These networks synchronize to create the illusion of a singular me. But illusion doesn't mean false, it means transient. The mind assembles identity moment by moment, like a dream that renews itself every second. And in that dream, we live our stories. Psychology calls this narrative identity. The tale you tell yourself about who you are and what your life means. It's how memory becomes meaning, how chaos becomes coherence. But the beauty of this realization is freedom. If identity is a story, you can edit it with compassion. You can soften its tone, forgive its mistakes, let its chapters breathe. You're both the author and the character, both the ink and the page. In meditation, when the sense of self dissolves even for an instant, many describe an immense calm. Without the boundaries of I, there is no tension, no defense, only being. This doesn't erase you, it reveals the wider you, the consciousness that holds every version of yourself with equal tenderness. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, let your identity loosen. Imagine it as a cloak falling softly to the floor. Beneath it, there is stillness, not emptiness. The thoughts of who you are fade into the larger awareness of simply being. No roles, no names, just presence. The dream of identity rests so that the soul beneath it can breathe, and in that breath, peace returns, the quiet reminder that you are not only your story, you are the space in which every story unfolds. Time feels like motion, yet it exists mostly in perception. Psychology reveals that the mind doesn't truly experience time, it constructs it. The brain measures change, counts rhythm, and weaves events into sequence. But when you slow down, when your breath steadies and thoughts drift like clouds, that sequence loosens. Minutes dissolve into moments, and moments stretch wide enough to hold eternity. Neuroscience shows that when we relax, the brain's time-keeping regions, the basal ganglia and cerebellum, change their tempo. Activity slows, and the subjective flow of time expands. That's why calm feels spacious. The nervous system, no longer in fight or flight, stops dividing experience into fragments of before and after. It begins to sense everything as one gentle now. In this state, even memory and imagination blend together, turning linear time into a soft circle of awareness. You've likely felt this before, watching rain fall endlessly, or staring at a flame until the world seems to pause. Psychology calls it temporal dilation. Poets call it presence. When attention and peace align, the mind escapes the tyranny of the clock. Sleep itself is the purest form of this. Hours vanish, and you awaken renewed, as though time folded over and began again. It's comforting to realize that time is flexible, especially when rest feels scarce. You don't need more hours, you need slower moments. Breathing can do this. Each inhale expands the present. Each exhale releases the weight of what's gone. The more you breathe with awareness, the more elastic time becomes, stretching enough to cradle you in stillness. Tonight, as the night deepens, let go of counting. Let go of clocks, of schedules, of the thought of tomorrow. There is only now, and now is vast enough. The stars outside burn as they have for billions of years, yet their light reaches you in this single second. That's the secret of time. Everything that ever was is happening here, in you as you rest. Light is more than sight. It's language. It speaks directly to the brain, shaping emotion and rhythm before thought even begins. Psychology and neuroscience together reveal this intimate bond. Light regulates mood through the circadian system, telling the body when to wake, when to rest, when to heal. Every dawn lifts serotonin, every dusk invites melatonin. In the soft balance between those two chemicals lies our emotional equilibrium. Your eyes are not just windows, but messengers. When morning light touches the retina, signals travel to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the brain's inner clock. From there, it orchestrates hormones, temperature, and alertness. But when light fades, that same system tells the mind it's time to slow. That's why sunset feels like exhale, and twilight carries peace no words can match. The nervous system recognizes dimness as safety, a return to the calm before motion. Even memories store light. The mind encodes emotional moments with sensory detail, the color of a room, the warmth of afternoon sun, the shimmer of city reflections at night. When you recall them, your brain partially reactivates those same pathways, painting emotion in the glow of remembered light. That's why nostalgia often feels golden and sadness feels grey. The mind is replaying light as feeling. In therapy and visualization practices, gentle light is often used intentionally. A soft imagined glow can calm anxiety, grounding the body through the visual cortex. You can try it now. Close your eyes and picture a faint radiance at the center of your chest. With each breath, let it expand, warming your shoulders, your arms, your thoughts. There's no need for brightness, only warmth. Light teaches rest by rhythm. The day moves toward night, activity toward stillness, consciousness toward dream. In that dimming, emotion reorganizes, the brain resets its patterns of feeling. Each evening is not an ending but a return to balance. As darkness deepens around you, know that your mind is responding, quietly, faithfully, to nature's oldest cue. The light may fade, but peace grows stronger in its absence. When you close your eyes and listen, there is no edge to thought. The mind stretches endlessly inward, a horizon without boundary. Psychology can describe the mechanics of this vastness. Networks of neurons connecting in patterns beyond comprehension. But its experience remains something deeper. It is the quiet infinity within us, a reflection of the outer universe mirrored in awareness. Neuroscience shows that even at rest, the brain never stops creating. In the so-called default mode network, thoughts emerge spontaneously. Fragments of memory, imagination, meaning. They drift through like comets across the dark. The mind is never truly empty. It's infinite in potential, endlessly weaving and unweaving itself. Yet when you rest deeply, those thoughts slow. They move farther apart, and between them appears something spacious, silence, vast, and alive. Psychologists sometimes call this mental expansiveness, the perception of a limitless awareness that comes when self-focus fades. In that state, the boundaries between me and everything else dissolve. You sense that the same intelligence shaping stars also stirs behind your thoughts. The effect is humility, awe, and peace all at once. This sense of infinity soothes because it removes pressure. When you realize the mind is boundless, mistakes lose weight, and time loses urgency. You understand that every emotion, every thought, every day is just a ripple on an endless sea. Nothing is truly final. Everything flows. You can feel this even now. Imagine floating in a vast dark ocean, not cold, but warm and endless. Above you, faint stars shimmer. Below, silence glows like water lit from within. There is no up or down, no before or after, only being. This is your mind when it rests, infinite, unhurried, complete. The more you lean into that vastness, the smaller the day's worries become. The self softens, the noise fades, only awareness remains, spacious, eternal, still. In that infinity you are both observer and sky, both drop and ocean. The mind's quiet infinity is not emptiness, it is fullness without form, peace without end. Though each of us moves through life with private thoughts, our inner worlds are not isolated islands. Psychology calls this the collective unconscious, the deep reservoir of symbols, instincts, and emotions that all humans share. Beneath culture, language, and time, we are linked by patterns of meaning older than memory. It's why a stranger's smile can move you, why ancient stories still stir your heart, why music from another century feels instantly familiar. The human mind recognizes itself in others, again and again. Neuroscience supports this invisible connection. When two people interact with empathy or harmony, their brain waves subtly synchronize, a phenomenon known as neural entrainment. The mind literally begins to move in rhythm with another. In conversation, in music, in shared silence, this resonance deepens. You feel it as warmth, as belonging, as calm. It's the biology of togetherness, written into the circuitry of survival. We were never meant to rest alone. Even when you are by yourself, your thoughts carry traces of countless others, words you've read, voices you've heard, gestures observed. Your identity is a mosaic built from shared human experience. Psychology suggests that this interconnectedness shapes emotion itself. We learn to feel by witnessing others feel. Joy spreads through a crowd faster than logic can explain. Grief echoes silently across faces. Each emotion is both personal and collective, like a wave that travels through every shore it touches. There's peace in knowing this. You don't have to carry the world alone. The world already moves through you. Somewhere, someone breathes in rhythm with you now. Someone is falling asleep under the same constellations. The shared mind hums beneath it all, whispering that connection is not distance, but recognition. So as you rest tonight, imagine that vast web, billions of quiet minds, dreaming, remembering, healing, each one sending out small ripples of thought and calm, joining yours in the same invisible sea. You are part of that current, always have been. The human mind, shared and luminous, is one great consciousness resting in billions of forms, and tonight it breathes as one. If consciousness is the ocean, then love is its gravity, the invisible pull that draws all minds toward connection. Psychology often describes love through attachment theory, hormones, and neural reward systems. But beneath those definitions lies something simpler and older, the instinct to belong. From birth, the brain searches for warmth, eye contact, rhythm, signs of safety that mean survival. Love begins as biology, but it grows into meaning. It's the force that holds our inner world together when everything else feels uncertain. When we feel loved, the vagus nerve calms, cortisol drops, and oxytocin rises. The body recognizes safety and closeness. This chemistry is why affection lowers anxiety, why being held can quiet the mind faster than words. It's not sentiment, it's circuitry. Yet love also expands beyond the personal. It can be felt in art, in nature, in the quiet awe of being alive at all. Neuroscientists call this self-transcendent emotion, the experience of dissolving boundaries and sensing unity with everything. In that moment, love stops being directed and becomes ambient, everywhere, in everything. Love also organizes chaos. Psychologically, it provides coherence, a story that makes struggle meaningful. When you care for someone or something, your attention stabilizes. You see beyond fear into purpose. Studies on caregiving and compassion show that giving love reduces stress more deeply than receiving it. To love is to find direction, gravity pulling you gently toward wholeness. Even solitude can hold love. When you speak kindly to yourself, you recreate that same stabilizing chemistry inside your own body. The nervous system doesn't distinguish between external and internal affection. It simply recognizes peace. That's why forgiveness feels like warmth spreading inward. You've restored connection within. So tonight, imagine love not as a flame but as gravity, invisible, constant, patient. It keeps you tethered to the world, to others, to yourself. It asks nothing loud, only that you stay open. Every heart that beats contributes to the same pull, the same unseen orbit of care holding humanity in place. Let yourself feel that weight, not heavy, but grounding. The weight that keeps us from drifting too far from one another, the quiet force that turns existence into belonging. There's a pause between every thought, a moment so brief it often goes unnoticed. Yet in that pause lies the essence of peace. Psychology calls this the gap of awareness, the instant where one neural pattern ends before the next begins. It lasts only milliseconds, but when you learn to rest inside it, time seems to stop. The brain is still, the mind is wide, and the body recognizes the taste of quiet. Meditation traditions have long spoken of this space. Neuroscience now observes it too, a subtle reduction in brainwave activity that occurs when attention softens. In those micro moments, consciousness withdraws from content and rests as itself, like an ocean without wind. Nothing is lost, everything simply pauses. Thought, emotion, and identity fade to the edges, and what remains is presence, unshaken, effortless, complete. You don't have to force this calm, you only have to notice it. Each time a thought dissolves, there's a gentle exhale before another arrives. Most people fill that space immediately, with planning, remembering, worrying. But if you wait, even for a breath, you can feel it, the still gap where nothing needs to happen. That gap is peace, in its purest form. In therapy and mindfulness training, this awareness is used to help regulate the nervous system. When you pause between thoughts, stress hormones decline. The body mirrors the mind's rhythm, inhaling, holding, releasing. The world slows to match you, and the silence that seemed rare becomes constant, waiting beneath the noise. Try it now. Let a thought come. Any thought. Then, as it fades, notice the space that follows. Breathe into it. Feel how the body softens there, as if relieved that it no longer needs to think. That stillness is your baseline, your original state. Thoughts will return, they always do, but the calm between them never disappears. It's the canvas they're painted on, the quiet river beneath the ripples. As you drift towards sleep, let yourself fall into that space. Not the thought, not the dream, but the silence that holds both. There, you're not doing or becoming, you're simply being. The calm between thoughts is not emptiness, it is the mind remembering itself. We began this journey with the image of the mind as an ocean, deep, rhythmic, always in motion. Now, after drifting through currents of thought and emotion, we return to that still water. Everything you've explored tonight, breathing, gratitude, imagination, compassion, has been one gentle tide leading back here to quiet awareness. The waves of the day have settled. What remains is the shimmer of reflection across the surface, the memory of movement, fading into calm. Psychology teaches that integration is the final step of healing. It's when scattered experiences find harmony, when the conscious and unconscious begin to hum in the same key. As your mind slows now, that harmony is happening. The brain waves that carried you through wakefulness, beta, alpha, theta, are sinking softly into delta, the frequency of deep rest. Your cells respond in chorus, muscles ease, breath evens, heart steadies. Even your thoughts begin to drift further apart, revealing the vast stillness beneath. Imagine looking down into that inner ocean. You can see the reflections of every insight from tonight, the science of calm, the psychology of peace, floating like faint stars on the water. Each one has served its purpose. Each one now dissolves. You don't need to hold them. Let them sink gently into the depths, where they'll become part of the current that restores you. You may notice that this calm feels familiar. It's the same quiet you've always carried, even when the surface was rough. It's not something you earned. It's what you are when everything else grows silent. The body knows this rhythm. It's older than thought, older than fear. Every exhale draws you closer to it. Every pause returns you home. So rest in this ocean now. Let its rhythm match your breath. You are the tide, the depth, the reflection, the silence. There's nothing left to reach for, nothing left to understand, only stillness, endless and kind. In this quiet ocean, you're both the dreamer and the dream, resting, weightless, complete. Sleep is not an ending, it is a return. Every night, the mind follows the same gentle path, from thought to breath to stillness. It's the oldest rhythm in the world, shared by every living thing. As you drift now, your awareness begins to loosen its hold on time. The body grows heavier, the air softer, the edges of the self blur. You're crossing the quiet threshold between waking and dreaming, where science becomes serenity and psychology turns into peace. Your brain is already beginning its work of restoration. Neurons communicate in slow pulses, waves rolling in perfect coordination. The immune system hums, cells repair, the mind files memories into place. The parasympathetic system, the body's caretaker, takes control, sending messages of safety through every nerve. It's a choreography as ancient as life itself, and you, simply by resting, are part of that flow. Let the last fragments of thought drift like feathers. The mind doesn't need to chase them anymore. They'll dissolve in their own time, sinking into the ocean of dreams you've already entered 100 times before. This is what all of tonight's journey has been leading toward. The gentle surrender where understanding becomes feeling and feeling becomes rest. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it, the rhythm of your own existence, the whisper of flow beneath the surface. Psychology calls it homeostasis. Poets call it peace. It is the same force that guides the stars in their orbits and carries rivers to the sea. It's in your breath, your heartbeat, your stillness. You don't have to do anything to reach it. You are already there. So let the day dissolve completely now. Let every sound soften into distance. Every thought fade like mist. The world can wait. This moment is only for rest. Feel yourself merging with the rhythm of sleep. Steady, weightless, infinite. Everything flows. Sleep in that motion.